Fantastic.
Fantastic.
There's only 2 of us, but there's 4 in our hearts.
Are there? Who's the 4th?
What's up, everyone? We're here talking.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about Blade tier list.
Yeah.
Which will be pretty easy. 3.5 movies, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But before we get started, the Fantastic Four trailer just dropped, so I thought we'd get a quick little reaction. What do you think?
I think it looks really good.
Yeah.
And again, I think what we're seeing is just very little. I think that they're addressing the things that they're like, we know, you're worried.
Yeah.
You're worried about the thing, so we're going to put the thing all in this. We know we need to nail 2 things, the thing, and we need to nail the family aspect.
Yes.
And so...
I think they got both in the trailer. Yeah.
They're like clearly like putting those 2 things up like front and center, but no stretchy, you know?
And just a brief glimpse of the back of Galactus' head.
Yes.
And he did not look huge.
Didn't look huge.
But he gets huge over time.
I mean, he looks huge compared to like us.
Yes.
You know, but
when you're labeled the world eater,
yeah,
and you can stand on a world,
yeah,
not much of an eater.
Yeah, or hold the world, you know, and there was also no Silver Surfers. I think we're supposed to get a couple, but yeah, and I don't know who John Malkovich is playing.
I think that it's a great cast. The way the thing looks, and the way he's wearing the trench coat.
And I love too that like if you're gonna get a guy from a TV show and he has that like that voice, that they're not like, oh, let's lower his voice, let's change his. It's very much like, hey, he's just a dude, he's just a rock guy. I mean, of course, and Joseph Quinn looks cool.
But anyways, let's get to the meat of the video. Let's do a Blade ranking tier list.
Okay.
There are only 3 official Blade movies. Let's get started with the first one, Blade, 1998.
Yeah.
Stephen Norrington, who is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen fame. This was his first big movie, Blade was. And, Stephen Dorff, Wesley Snipes, Chris Christopherson, the dude from...
Donald Logue.
The dude from Fox sitcoms. Wesley Snipes is the titular Blade, and he's fighting vampires. It's a very simple movie. Yeah. Deacon Frost wants to become the ultimate vampire, the blood god. And we get a little bit of a bullet time situation in here. You get, a great opening fight scene in the blood rave.
Yeah, so good.
But you also get the lore is built really well in this movie.
Well, because it kind of changes a lot of it too. Mm-hmm. It's a movie that in a world where we're complaining about we need things to be accurate. This is they just are this seems cool, but maybe we really
redo it a little bit, yeah.
Especially for the 90s. What if we all black?
Guns,
raves, swords.
A head / neck tattoo.
Just sunglasses,
just
even
cool,
inside.
Yeah. If you were not born in the 90s at all, sunglasses in the late 90s were the coolest, hippest thing in the world. Because you had Blade, and then you had Matrix.
And Men in Black.
And Men in Black. And you had a couple others too, like Mission Impossible. But, sunglasses were the coolest thing.
They were cool.
So when you hate on millennials about them caring about their sunglasses, just know we grew up. That was our childhood.
We need it. It introduces Blade to just the average person, but also was able to reset. And also this is a time when I don't know, Batman is fizzled out as a comic book character.
Superman was already over.
It was over. And so it was kind of a clean slate, and they could do whatever the heck they wanted. Yeah.
And this starts the return of Marvel after they went bankrupt. Yeah. They sold off all their assets. Blade was one of them. And Blade's success propelled them. And obviously, Spider-Man came after and blew them up even more, and X-Men. But Blade was the start.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's rated R.
Yes.
But it's a rated R movie that it's not it's R for violence and swearing.
Yeah.
So
it's rated R for being cool.
For being cool. Oh, never mind. No, it was so cool that
they were
your parents were Oh yeah.
You can watch this.
You're like 8. You're like 7, 8. Yeah, you'll be fine.
If it didn't have cussing in today's standards, it's a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put that where I think it's hard because I think it's A.
I think it's A.
I think it's A.
I think it's A. Like I don't like. You watch that movie and it is so competently made and it's easy to understand. Even there's some weird vampire drama going on.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that they like rip out his fangs and then make him burn.
Oh,
it's just cool. And then when Steven Dorff has sunscreen on, he's got the kid.
And also, it's one of these, like, I've heard this phrase and now I've latched onto it. It's like one of those great 3-star, 5-star movies.
Yeah.
Where it's not gonna win awards.
Yeah.
But it is the best movie you'll ever see that is adequately made and just fun. Speaking of which, Blade 2.
Blade 2.
Guillermo del Toro.
There's a world beyond the one we know, where the powers of darkness fear nothing but one man. Stop. Blade.
Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
It has
Ron Perlman.
There's a couple other people.
It's
got the guy from Fast and Furious, who wears the mesh top.
But it's also got, what's the coolest thing it's got in it?
Well, there's a lot of cool things. You're gonna have to be a bit more specific.
What's the coolest thing to you?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, the coolest thing is the soundtrack.
Oh well, I was gonna say, you know what? I was gonna say the coolest thing is the jaw, the new like
the evolution of the
vampire.
Yeah.
But actually, the coolest thing is the thing I love that almost every superhero movie will eventually do, which is we have to team up with the bad guys.
Yeah. So Blade teams up with the vampires because you got to fight the evolution of the vampires. Yeah. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, but then twist. I think some of the good bad guys are actually bad guys. Yeah.
It gets very complicated, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
I remember there's a specific song. I think it's like Massive Attack and Mos Def.
Yeah.
Or so I don't know. I don't know if that's them.
I'll have to look that up.
I'll have to fact check myself. But
that might be too cool.
Where they're all walking up to the club, and it's like fresh in my mind. Yeah, it's just the soundtrack is cool. And then when, so they defeat Blade basically, and they think he's dead, but he falls into a vat of blood.
Blood, yeah.
And he wakes up, and he just has a wrestling match with like 40 dudes and beats them all up, and it's so cool. So Blade, he likes to say he's a cool customer, but at the end of this movie, he's not so cool at the end. He gets a little sad. But you know what? Being sad sometimes is cool.
Oh, 100%.
Because it shows you're human.
I mean, I think we have a whole like part of a video where we talk about how cool the Crow is.
Yeah.
Crow very sad.
But yes, this one is very cool. The fighting's much better. Guillermo's direction's better.
It's Norman Reedus. He's not a vampire though. He's
a familiar.
He's supposed to be kind of like the. At first, you think he's replacing.
Yeah, he's a tech guy because Chris Christopherson in the first movie dies, but he comes back. S tier.
S tier. 100%.
S tier. Yeah. It takes the formula and perfects it. And then we get Blade Trinity a couple years later.
Also creates a formula of like, I don't know if we can ever land these franchises.
Yeah. It is around the time where Fantastic Four comes around and can't figure out what it is or how to do it. David S. Goyer, who helped co-write the first 2 Blade movies, directs this one. You all know, if you're on the internet, you've heard about the Wesley Snipes Goyer beef. Goyer, Patton Oswalt has broken it down quite well, and so has Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel, and basically everyone involved with this movie has talked about it. But basically the plot is Dracula comes back and Blade's got to defeat him.
Dracula,
yeah.
Played by Dominic Purcell. Is this before or after Prison Break?
It's around the same time. So I think it's right before Prison Break, before he blows up.
Yeah, he had hair in this one, and then he shaved it and never went
back.
But
obviously the daughter of Whistler, and Ryan Reynolds.
Are they not both his kids?
No, Ryan Reynolds is not his kid. He's basically playing Deadpool.
Yeah, a lot of it takes place in the daytime.
Yes,
it's very much like almost too clean, but then also they're like, well, we have Ryan Reynolds, so it's not going to be PG-13, so sorry about that. And so it just kind of ends up being a weird like amalgamation of a clean version, but also it's like rated R, and there's there's jokes and and raunchy. It almost feels a little bit like they're like, hey, can you just like Van Wilder up a little bit?
Yeah. And this was around the time where they were trying to make Ryan Reynolds into a thing.
Yeah.
And he kept not getting movies that were good.
Yeah.
And then obviously he got Deadpool and finally figured out the formula.
Yeah. That's when he had his beard though too.
Yeah.
Looks good.
He looks good in a beard. I mean, because he did
Amityville Horror.
Yeah, Amityville Horror around the same time.
Yeah.
You know.
Jessica Biel coming hot off of Seventh Heaven.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
And then she did I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
Yeah,
so
well, but no, it's like I felt like it ideally, I guess, if in this world of vampires, you're working up to a Dracula.
Which is unfortunate.
But like the stakes, I just feel like the stakes of one feel so much higher.
Goyer, take whatever, but he is a great co-writer.
Yeah.
He can get you some nice action scenes. He can probably get you some good dialogue, but he's not gonna hit the home run.
Yeah, I just think that at this moment we've reached a point where it's like, okay, where do we go from here? 3, we need more people. We need we need the bad guy, Venom. You know, it's like all of it is just, we're really starting to like all these franchises, except for Fantastic Four, we're like coming to this point of like it's the third X-Men
The Last Stand.
It's like everything. Like if you look at Spider-Man 3, X-Men: The Last Stand, and Blade Trinity, they all probably feel a little bit the same of just like you can 100% point out like they're
burdened by trying to make it better than what the previous ones and failing.
Yeah.
So it's probably D, right? Because
that's a D for me.
Yeah, it does not. It starts fine, and it sets it up well, and then it just doesn't land.
Now listen, if you were in middle school when this movie came out, like I was,
you might like it.
This was the talk of the school. You know, everyone wanted to go see Blade Trinity.
Since he's not in it a lot, but I figured let's just put Deadpool and Wolverine on the list.
Yeah,
because he factors into the end of the movie. I mean, he's a pivotal part of it.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have spoiler, if he doesn't have spoiler alert, if he doesn't have an RPG, the fight ends a little bit different.
Yeah, he was the one surprise,
and it was a big surprise.
Oh my gosh! Like no way they really. And I think a lot of it plays into like for years everyone thought that him and Ryan Reynolds had beef on that, and that didn't turn out to be true. Yeah. And I think this is his way of being like, could I have been a little more professional on that set? Maybe. But also. I mean, we're all fine except for us and Goyer. I think for him, it was like, I need to come back. And I don't know if he's going to come back at all, you know, in the future, but like, if I have one more shot, I need to make this like what people remember.
I don't think we put it on the tier list, but I would put it like D.
I would love an Old Man Blade, like kind of movie.
He is a little bit too old.
But it's like, if you're going to do like bring him back, like give him like a Logan style.
That'd be fun, yeah.
You know, like the goatee with the gray is cool.
Yeah.
You know, like he just looks cool, and he still is cool.
Before we go, what would you say is Wesley Snipes' best performance ever? Because, you know, obviously a lot of people know him from Blade.
Yeah.
But I know him from other stuff.
I mean, like, Why Man Can't Jump is great.
Yes.
But to me, like, what I think about him the most in is Tu Wong Fu.
Really?
You know, because I had seen Blade and I'd seen like an Expendables movie.
Yeah.
And then like you see like, and I know what, like Demolition Man.
Oh, well, my answer would be Demolition Man.
And I know him from that. But to see, like, and I think everyone chalks up Wesley to be this guy who's like, yeah, he's an action star. He's cool. Like, he can drop a one-liner. But to see him in a movie that he is so comfortable in.
Yeah.
That does, like, it's a movie that, like, if you watch it after seeing all those other performances, you really, like, it's a whole new side of him that you're like, wow, I would never have guessed that he would have been a dude who would be like, yeah, absolutely. Sign me up. I love that movie.
And in the mid-90s, that's a tough movie to sign up for.
So think about it. Like, in the mid-90s, he's playing that character, and then he's ending the 90s.
Yeah.
Just a cold dude.
Thanks for everything, Julie.
And I think it just really shows that if he'd really put himself out there, like, he can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.